The rain hammered against the windshield as Taejun drove through the dark country road. His daughter Ha-rin sat in the back seat, humming a song from her art class. The 7-year-old held a drawing she had made that evening, a picture of dolphins jumping over waves. "Dad, can we get ice cream?" Ha-rin asked, pressing her face against the window. "It's too late, sweetie. Maybe tomorrow," Taejun said, smiling at her through the rearview mirror. Thunder rumbled overhead, and he gripped the steering wheel tighter. The storm had come suddenly, catching them on their way home from town. As they rounded a bend, something bright flashed in the rice field beside the road. Taejun slowed down, squinting through the rain. There was smoke rising from the field, and strange blue lights flickered in the darkness. "What's that, Dad?" Ha-rin leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. Taejun pulled over to the side of the road. Every instinct told him to keep driving, to get his daughter home safely. But what if someone was hurt? What if they needed help? "Stay in the car," he told Ha-rin firmly. He grabbed his flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out into the storm. The rain soaked him instantly as he climbed over the low fence and walked into the muddy field. The closer he got, the stranger things looked. The smoke didn't smell like burning gasoline. It smelled sweet, almost like flowers. The blue lights pulsed in a rhythm that seemed too deliberate to be fire. And the shape in the field wasn't a car at all. Taejun's heart pounded as he approached what looked like a small pod, maybe 3 meters long, half buried in the mud. Its surface was smooth and metallic, covered in symbols he didn't recognize. Part of it was cracked open, sparking with that eerie blue light. "Please, help." The voice was weak and strange, the words heavily accented. Taejun swung his flashlight toward the sound and froze. 2 figures huddled beside the pod. They definitely weren't human. The larger one was trying to shield the smaller one with her body. She had skin that shimmered with a faint purple tint, and patterns on her arms and face that glowed softly in the darkness. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, a deep violet color that caught the flashlight beam. She wore something like a silver suit, torn and damaged. The smaller figure, clearly younger, was curled up on the ground. His suit sparked and fizzed, and he was making small sounds of pain. "Don't hurt us," the female said, her voice shaking. She held up one hand, palm out. "We mean no harm. My brother. He's injured. Please." Taejun stood there, his mind racing. This was impossible. Aliens. Real aliens. He should run. He should call someone. The police. The military. Someone. But then he looked at her face. Despite the differences, he recognized that expression. It was the same look he saw in the mirror every day since his wife died. Fear. Desperation. The need to protect someone you love. Behind him, he heard a car door open. "Ha-rin, no. Stay in the car." But his daughter was already running through the rain toward him, her small feet splashing in the puddles. She stopped beside him and stared at the 2 aliens. "Dad, they're hurt," Ha-rin said simply. She walked forward before Taejun could stop her, approaching the female alien without fear. "It's okay. My dad helps people. He's really nice." The alien woman looked at Ha-rin with wonder. She reached out slowly, and Ha-rin took her hand without hesitation. The alien's eyes filled with tears that looked just like human tears. Taejun made his decision. "Can you walk? Both of you?" The female nodded. "Kes cannot. He's too hurt. The crash. Our pod failed. Okay, I'm gonna carry him. You help me." Taejun handed his flashlight to Ha-rin and bent down to the injured alien boy. Up close, he could see the kid was maybe 13 or 14 in human terms, his face twisted in pain. The suit he wore was shorting out, sending small shocks through his body. Working together, Taejun and the female alien got Kes into the back of the car. Arin climbed in beside him, not afraid at all. The female alien sat in the front passenger seat, constantly turning to check on her brother. "My name is Nira," she said quietly as Taejun drove toward his house. "My brother is Kes. We are Velhari. Our scout pod." Something went wrong. "We crashed. I didn't know what to do. I'm Taejun. This is Harin. We live near the beach, not far from here. I'm a marine biologist. I have medical supplies at home." He didn't know why he was explaining all this. Maybe to convince himself this was really happening. "Why are you helping us?" Nira asked. "We are strangers. We are not even your species." Taejun glanced at her, then back at the road. "Because you need help. That's enough." They reached his house 20 minutes later. It sat alone on a small cliff overlooking the ocean, far from other buildings. Taejun had bought it for the privacy after his wife died, wanting space to grieve away from pitying looks. Now that privacy served a different purpose. He carried Kes inside while Nira and Harin followed. He laid the boy on the couch and ran to get his first aid kit. As a marine biologist working in remote locations, he kept extensive medical supplies. Nira's fingers moved over her brother's damaged suit, speaking rapidly in a language that sounded like music and wind chimes. She looked at Taejun helplessly. "I need to remove the suit, but I cannot read his biosigns without my scanner. It was destroyed in the crash. Let me see." Taejun examined the suit carefully. It seemed to have some kind of clasp system. Working together, he and Nira carefully removed it. Underneath, Kes's skin was covered in burns and bruises. Some of the wounds looked serious. For the next 3 hours, Taejun worked on the injured alien boy. He cleaned wounds, applied antibiotics, and used everything he knew about biology to help. Nira assisted, explaining what she could about Velhari physiology. Their blood was copper-based instead of iron-based, but the principles were surprisingly similar. Harin brought them water and blankets, helping in her own small way. Finally, near midnight, Kes's breathing steadied. The color returned to his face, and he fell into what looked like natural sleep. Nira sagged with relief, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you. I thought I would lose him. He is all I have." Taejun put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He'll be okay. He needs rest now." "You both do." He showed Nira to the guest room and carried Kes there, laying him on the bed. Arin brought her favorite stuffed dolphin and tucked it beside the alien boy. "So he won't be scared when he wakes up," she explained seriously. After getting Harin to bed, Taejun stood in the hallway, his hands shaking with delayed shock. He had just brought aliens into his home. Actual aliens from space. His life would never be the same. But when he passed the guest room and saw Nira sitting beside her brother, holding his hand while he slept, that same fierce protective love on her face, Taejun knew he had made the right choice. Some things transcended species. Kindness was one of them. 3 days had passed since the storm. Kes was recovering slowly but steadily in the guest room. The burns on his skin had started healing faster than Taejun expected, though the boy still slept most of the time. Nira rarely left his side except to help around the house or answer Arin's endless questions. Taejun stood in his small workshop, watching Nira work on a damaged piece of technology she had salvaged from the crashed pod. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, connecting wires to what looked like a small translator device. Every so often, it would crackle and emit garbled sounds. "Almost there," Nira said, her accent still thick but understandable. She had been learning Korean quickly by listening to them speak. "This device will help us talk better. No more struggling with words." "You're doing fine already," Taejun said. "Arin loves talking with you." Nira smiled, and Taejung noticed how human the expression looked despite her alien features. Your daughter is wonderful. She has no fear, just curiosity and kindness. She gets that from her mother, Taejun said quietly. He turned to look out the window at the ocean. My wife died 2 years ago. Illness. Harin was only 5. Too young to lose her mother. Nira stopped working. She set down her tools and walked over to stand beside him. I understand loss. Our parents died when I was young too. Kes was only a child. I raised him alone. An exploration accident on a frozen world. They saved their crew, but did not survive. They stood together in silence, 2 single parents bound by grief and responsibility. The translator device suddenly beeped. Nira picked it up, and it glowed with soft blue light. She touched it to her temple, and when she spoke again, her words came out perfectly clear in Korean, though her lips still moved in her own language. It works, she said. Now I can explain better. Ask me anything. Over the next hour, Nira told Taejun about the Velhari Collective. They were a peaceful federation of worlds that explored space looking for new life and potential allies. The Velhari valued family bonds above everything else. Their society was built on the idea that taking care of each other was the highest calling. We are scouts, Nira explained. Kes and I volunteered together. I wanted him to see the universe, to grow up knowing there was more than just our home world. But something went wrong with our pod during atmospheric entry. A malfunction. We crashed before we could send a distress signal. Can you contact your ship? Taejun asked. Eventually. But the communication system needs more repairs. Weeks, maybe a month. The pod's core is damaged. Nira looked worried. Our ship will look for us, but space is vast. They may not find a crash site quickly. Then you stay here until they do, Taejun said firmly. You're safe here. Both of you. That evening, Harin insisted on having dinner together like a family. She set the table carefully, giving Nira the chair beside her. Taejun had prepared a simple meal of rice, vegetables, and fish. Nira had explained that Velhari could eat most earth foods, though some spices were too strong for them. Kes joined them for the first time, moving slowly but smiling. The young alien boy's eyes lit up when he saw the food. This smells amazing, he said through his own translator. His voice was higher than Nira's, still carrying the crack of adolescence. Nira usually just makes nutrition paste when we travel, because nutrition paste doesn't require cooking on a damaged ship, Nira said, but she smiled at her brother's teasing. Harin giggled. Dad's cooking is the best. He makes special fish soup on Sundays. Maybe you'll still be here on Sunday? The adults exchanged glances. Kes noticed and quickly changed the subject, asking Harin about her drawings on the refrigerator. After dinner, Taejun read Harin a bedtime story like always. Nira listened from the doorway, fascinated by the ritual. When Harin fell asleep, Nira followed Taejun to the living room. You do this every night? She asked. The story? Every night. Her mother started the tradition. I keep it going. Taejun sat on the couch, suddenly tired. It's hard sometimes, doing it alone. Work, parenting, trying to keep her happy. But she's worth it. Nira sat beside him. Kes is the same for me. Worth everything. But lonely, yes? Having no one to share the burden with? Very lonely, Taejun admitted. He hadn't talked to anyone like this since his wife died. His colleagues at the research facility were kind, but they didn't understand. They had spouses to go home to, complete families. Velhari pair bond for life, Nira said softly. When we find someone who understands us, who shares our values, we bond completely. Species does not matter in bonding, only compatibility of spirit. She paused. I never thought I would find that. I was too busy raising Kes, being a scout. But being here, seeing how you care for Harin, how you helped us without asking for anything in return." She trailed off, looking away. Taechan's heart beat faster. He barely knew her, but he felt it too. That connection. That sense of being understood. "Tell me about the worlds you've seen," he said, changing the subject to safer ground. Nira's face lit up. She told him about crystalline planets where the very air sang with music. About massive space-going creatures that lived in the void between stars. About civilizations so old they had forgotten more than humanity would ever learn. Taejun shared his own passion for the oceans of Earth. He explained the mysteries still hidden in the deep waters, the creatures they were still discovering. Nira listened with genuine fascination, asking questions that showed real interest. They talked until late in the night, only stopping when Kes called out from the guest room. He had woken from a bad dream about the crash. Nira rushed to comfort him, and Taejun heard her singing a soft Velhari lullaby until the boy fell back asleep. The next morning, Taejun had to go to work. He hesitated at the door, worried about leaving Nira and Kes alone. But Nira assured him they would be fine. "We'll stay inside. Kes needs more rest anyway." And Harin said she would teach me to draw. At the research facility, Taechan's colleague Dr. Yuna immediately noticed something different about him. "You look terrible," she said bluntly, "and distracted. What's going on?" Taejun trusted Yuna. They'd worked together for 5 years, and she had been one of the few people who helped him after his wife died. But could he tell her about the aliens? "I need some medical supplies," he said carefully. "Some of the advanced diagnostic equipment, and maybe some rare elements from the chemistry lab." Yuna raised an eyebrow. "For what research project?" "A personal one. I can't explain right now. But Yuna, I've never asked you for something like this before. I need you to trust me." She studied his face for a long moment. "Fine, but you owe me an explanation eventually. A real one." That evening, Taejun brought home the supplies. Nira's eyes widened when she saw the diagnostic equipment. "This will help so much. I can properly scan Kes now, make sure he's healing correctly." She looked at Taejun with gratitude and something else. Something warmer. Over the following days, a routine developed. Taejun would work during the day while Nira and Kes stayed hidden. Harin would come home from school and immediately run to find Kes, dragging him into whatever game she had invented that day. The two children bonded quickly, despite their differences. In the evenings, after Harin went to bed, Taejun and Nira would work on repairing the pod's communication system. They worked side by side in his workshop, their hands occasionally touching as they passed tools. Each touch sent a small thrill through Taejun that he tried to ignore. One night, Nira found Taejun looking at old photos of his wife. He was crying quietly, something he rarely allowed himself to do. "I'm sorry," he said, wiping his eyes. "Today was her birthday. I always get sad on her birthday." Nira sat beside him without speaking. Then she showed him a small holographic projector. She activated it, and images of her parents appeared, smiling and waving at the camera. "Anniversary of their death was last month," she said. "While we were traveling in space. I cried alone in my quarters while Kes slept. No one to share the grief with. They sat together, sharing their pain in comfortable silence." Taejun realized something profound. For the first time since his wife died, he didn't feel alone in his grief. Nira understood because she had walked the same painful road. When she took his hand that night, he didn't pull away. They sat together until dawn, two wounded souls finding comfort in each other's presence. The communication system would be ready soon. Their time together was limited, but neither of them wanted to think about that yet. 2 weeks had passed since the crash, and Taechun's quiet life had transformed completely. His home, once filled with lonely silence, now rang with laughter and conversation. Kes had recovered fully and spent his days playing with Harin or helping his sister repair their pod. Nira had become an essential part of their daily routine, cooking meals, helping Harin with homework, and working alongside Taejun in his workshop every evening. The communication system was nearly complete. Soon Nira would be able to contact her mothership. Soon this strange, wonderful interlude would end. Taejun tried not to think about it. "Dad, watch this!" Harin called from the beach below the house. She and Kes were building an elaborate sandcastle together. The alien boy had used a small tool from the pod to create perfectly smooth walls and towers that defied normal physics. Nira stood beside Taejun on the deck, watching the children play. "They've become good friends," she said. "Kes hasn't laughed this much in years. Since before our parents died." Harin's the same," Taejun said. "She talks about Kes like he's the brother she always wanted. She's going to be heartbroken when you have to leave." Nira's expression fell. She had been avoiding this topic, but it hung between them like a shadow. "I know. I wish." She stopped herself. "Wish what?" "Nothing. It's foolish." That evening, Taejun took Nira to his research facility. He wanted to show her Earth's oceans, his life's work. The building was empty on weekends, so there was no risk of anyone seeing her. She had wrapped herself in loose clothing and a hat to hide her distinctive features, just in case. In the marine biology lab, Taejun showed her the tanks of creatures he was studying. Bioluminescent jellyfish that glowed in the dark. Strange deep-sea fish that looked almost alien themselves. Coral samples from dying reefs he was trying to save. "Your oceans are beautiful," Nira said, her face pressed close to the glass of a tank. "So much life. On many worlds we visited, the oceans are dead or empty. But Earth's waters are full of wonder. That's why I do this work," Taejun said. "To protect them. To understand them. Sometimes I think I understand the ocean better than I understand people." Nira turned to look at him. "I understand. Space is like that for me. Vast and mysterious. But lately," she moved closer to him, "lately I find myself wanting to understand other things. Like why my heart beats faster when you're near. Like why the thought of leaving makes me feel like I'm tearing myself apart." Taechun's breath caught. They had been dancing around this feeling for days, both too afraid to speak it aloud. "Nira, The laboratory door suddenly opened. Taejun and Nira jumped apart as Dr. Yuna walked in, carrying a stack of files. She froze when she saw them. "Taejun? What are you doing here on a Saturday?" Then Yuna's eyes fixed on Nira, taking in details that the casual disguise couldn't hide. The slight purple tint to her skin, the luminescent marks barely visible under the hat, eyes that were too large, too violet. "Yuna, I can explain," Taejun started. But Yuna was already moving closer, her scientist's curiosity overwhelming her shock. "You're not human," she said to Nira. "Those markings, your bone structure, the way you move. What are you?" Nira stood straight, dignified despite being caught. "My name is Nira. I am Velhari, from a world far from here. Our ship crashed, and Taejun saved us. Saved my brother and me." Yuna looked at Taejun with wide eyes. "This is why you needed those supplies. Why you've been acting strange." She turned back to Nira. "You're actually an alien. A real alien. This is incredible. Do you know what this means?" "First contact. We need to inform the government, the scientific community." "No," Taejun said firmly. "Yuna, please. Think about what would happen. They'd take Nira and her brother away. Lock them up. Study them like specimens. I know you're excited, but these are people, not research subjects." Yuna struggled visibly with herself. Then she sighed. You're right. I'm sorry. Old habits. But Taejun, you can't keep this secret forever. And there's something you should know. Government agents came to the facility yesterday. They're investigating unusual energy signatures detected in our area 2 weeks ago. They're asking questions. Taejun's blood ran cold. What did you tell them? Nothing. But they're not going to give up. They have equipment that can detect anomalous radiation. If they search systematically, they'll find the crash site eventually. Maybe even track the trail to your house. Nira looked frightened. Kes, we need to get back to him and Harin. They rushed back to the beach house. Everything seemed normal. Harin was showing Kes her collection of seashells while he explained which minerals they were made from. But Taejun couldn't shake the sense of danger closing in. That night, after the children were asleep, Nira activated the repaired communication system. The device hummed to life, projecting a holographic display in Taejun's workshop. It works, she said quietly. I can send a signal to my ship now. They'll detect it within hours. They'll come for us. Then do it, Taejun said, though the words felt like swallowing glass. Contact them. You need to be safe. Nira's hand hovered over the controls, but she didn't activate the signal. Instead, she turned to Taejun with tears in her eyes. I don't want to go, she whispered. These 2 weeks with you, with Harin, they've been the happiest of my life. I've spent years just surviving, just taking care of Cass and doing my duty as a scout. But here, with you, I feel alive. I feel like I found something I didn't know I was searching for. Taejun pulled her into his arms. I feel it too. I thought I would never feel this way again after my wife died. That part of me was gone forever. But you brought it back to life. They stood together in the workshop, holding each other. The communication device hummed beside them, ready to send the signal that would end everything. What do we do? Nira asked Dot before Taejun could answer. Cass appeared in the doorway. The young Velhari looked serious, older than his years. You should know, Cass said. I detected our mothership entering this solar system an hour ago. I didn't want to interrupt your evening with Harin, but you need to know. They're coming. They'll be here in 3 days. Nira's face went pale. How? We haven't sent a signal. They must have tracked our last known trajectory. Did a systematic search. They're good at finding lost scouts. Cass walked over to his sister. Nira, I know you don't want to leave. And honestly, neither do I. I like it here. But we have duties. The collective depends on scouts like us. I know, Nira said. But Cass, what if there's another way? What if I could stay? The collective doesn't let scouts just quit, Cass said sadly. You know that. Taejun thought quickly. What if it wasn't quitting? What if it was a cultural exchange? A representative staying to learn about Earth and prepare for future contact? Cass's eyes widened. That might actually work. The collective values cultural understanding. If you presented it as a mission rather than abandonment of duty. He paused. But you'd be mostly alone, cut off from our people for years until Earth is ready for open contact. And I'd have to go back with the ship. Nira looked at her brother, then at Taejun. Would you really want me to stay? To be part of your life? Your family? Yes, Taejun said without hesitation. If you wanted to. From the hallway, a small voice said, I want Nira to stay too. They all turned to see Harin standing there in her pajamas, tears running down her face. I heard you talking. Nira, please don't go. You're like a mom to me now. I don't want to lose you. Nira knelt down and pulled Harin into a hug. The little girl cried against her shoulder while Nira stroked her hair, making soft, comforting sounds. I'll try, Nira promised. I'll try to find a way to stay. But Harin, you need to understand. Even if I can stay, Kes has to go back. And there might be complications. The government agents, the collective's rules. It won't be easy. I don't care, Harin said fiercely. We're strong. We can handle hard things. Right, Dad? Taejun smiled through his own tears. Right, sweetie. We've handled hard things before. Later that night, Taejun and Nira stood on the beach, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, a Velhari mothership was approaching. In 3 days, everything would change. Nira took Taejun's hand. Whatever happens, I want you to know. Meeting you is worth everything. Even if I have to leave, even if we only had these 2 weeks, it was worth it. Taejun pulled her close and kissed her for the first time. It felt right in a way that transcended species or worlds. When they parted, both of them were crying. We'll find a way, Taejun said. I promise you, we'll find a way to stay together. Above them, a shooting star crossed the sky. Neither of them knew it was actually the Velhari ship, decelerating as it entered Earth's orbit. Time was running out. The Velhari shuttle descended from the sky like a silver tear, landing on the beach near Taejun's house. It was early morning, and the sun was just rising over the ocean. Harin gripped Taejun's hand tightly as they watched the craft settle onto the sand. Nira and Cass stood beside them, both wearing their repaired biosuits, looking every bit the alien scouts they truly were. The shuttle's door opened with a hiss of pressurized air. 3 Velhari emerged, all wearing formal uniforms marked with symbols of rank. The leader was a tall male with silver markings on his face, older than Nira, moving with the authority of someone used to command. Scout Nira. Scout Cass. His voice was formal, but relieved. We feared you were lost. The collective celebrates your survival. Nira stepped forward and made a gesture that looked like a salute. Captain Varn, we are grateful for the rescue. Our pod suffered catastrophic failure during atmospheric insertion. We would have died without intervention. Captain Varn's eyes shifted to Taejun and Harin. His expression was curious but cautious. These are the native inhabitants who assisted you? Yes, sir. This is Taejun and his daughter, Harin. They saved our lives, sheltered us, and asked for nothing in return. Nira's voice was steady, but Taejun could see her hands shaking slightly. Captain, I must speak with you privately about Earth and its people. There are things you need to understand before we proceed. The captain gestured to his subordinates, who remained by the shuttle. Then he followed Nira, Taejun, Cass, and Harin into the house. Dr. Yuna was already there, having come early at Taejun's request. Her eyes widened at seeing real aliens, but she kept her composure. Inside, Nira made introductions. Then she began explaining everything. Human kindness, their capacity for compassion toward strangers, the way Taejun had risked everything to help them. She spoke about Earth's potential, its rich biosphere, its complex cultures. Captain Varn listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. Finally, he turned to Taejun. You are a scientist, yes? A researcher of ocean life? Yes, Taejun said. Marine biology. I study and try to protect Earth's oceans. And you helped 2 alien strangers during a storm, knowing nothing about us, potentially exposing yourself to danger or disease. Why? Taejun thought about how to explain. Because they needed help. Because leaving someone to die when you can save them isn't right. Because kindness is more important than fear. Captain Varn's expression shifted to something like approval. The collective has encountered many species in our exploration. Most are cautious, fearful of outsiders. Some are aggressive. Few show automatic compassion to unknown beings. He paused. Your people may be ready for contact sooner than we estimated. Captain, Nira said, her voice shaking now. I wish to request formal permission to remain on Earth under cultural exchange protocols. to serve as a liaison and observer, to prepare for eventual first contact. The room went silent. Captain Vorn studied her face for a long moment. "You know what that means," he said quietly. "Years of isolation from the collective. No ship, no crew, limited contact with our people. The cultural exchange protocol requires total immersion. You would essentially be alone." "I wouldn't be alone," Nira said. She looked at Taejun and Harin. "I would have them." Kes stepped forward. "Captain, I support my sister's request. These humans are good people, and Nira has never been happy as just a scout. She became one to take care of me, but her heart was never fully in it. Here, she's found something real." Before Captain Voren could respond, Yuna's phone rang. She answered it, her face going pale as she listened. "They're coming," she said after hanging up. "The government agents. They detected the shuttle landing. They'll be here in less than an hour with military support. They think it's an invasion." Captain Voren's expression hardened. "This complicates matters significantly. If Earth's governments detect us before they're ready for contact, it could set back integration by centuries. Hostile first contact has derailed promising species before." Taejun made a decision. "I'll take responsibility. I'll tell them it was a weather balloon, experimental drone, anything. I'll confuse the issue long enough for you to leave. Just please, consider Nira's request." "You would lie to your government to protect us?" Captain Voren asked. "To protect the chance for peaceful contact, yes. And to protect Nira and Kes. They're not invaders. They're just people who got lost and needed help." The captain looked at Taejun with new respect. "Scout Nira, your request is highly irregular, but I see wisdom in it. Earth shows promise, and having an observer here could be valuable." He pulled out a small device. "However, I cannot grant this alone. I need authorization from the High Council. That will take time we don't have." "Then take it," Nira said firmly. "I resign my commission as a scout, effective immediately. Under collective law, I'm free to choose my own path as a civilian. I choose to stay here." Cass looked shocked. "Nira, no. If you resign, you lose all support from the collective. No resources, no protection, no contact at all until Earth is ready. It could be decades, I know." Nira took Taechung's hand. "But some things are worth the sacrifice." Captain Voren sighed. "If you resign, I cannot stop you. But Nira, think carefully. You're giving up everything you've known." "I'm not giving it up. I'm trading it for something better." Aharin suddenly ran forward and hugged Nira's legs. "Please, let her stay. Please, I'll take care of her. I promise." The alien captain's stern expression softened as he looked at the little girl. "I can see the bond between you. It reminds me of my own daughter, far away on the homeworld." He made a decision. "Very well. Scout Nira, I accept your resignation. You are now a civilian, free to make your own choices. I will file the proper documentation." He turned to Kes. "But you, young one, must return with us. You are still in training, still under collective authority." Kes nodded, though his eyes were filled with tears. "I understand, sir." The captain's expression became urgent. "We must leave now, before the government forces arrive. The collective cannot be exposed yet." He looked at Taejun. "Can you truly protect her? Keep her hidden?" "With my life," Taejun promised. Nira and Kes went outside for their goodbyes. The brother and sister held each other tightly, both crying in their musical language. Kes pulled back and spoke in Korean so everyone could understand. "Take care of yourself, sister. Be happy. You've earned it. Come back and visit someday," Nira said. "When Earth is ready. I want you to see the life I've built here." "I will. I promise." Kes turned to Taejun and Harin. Thank you for giving my sister a home, for showing us that humanity's greatest strength isn't technology or weapons. It's kindness. That's what makes you special. Harin hugged Kes, crying into his biosuit. I'll miss you. You're the best alien brother ever. Kes laughed through his tears. And you're the best human sister ever. Captain Vaughn and his crew boarded the shuttle. Kes looked back one last time, raising his hand in farewell. Then the door closed, and the craft lifted silently into the sky, disappearing in seconds. Nira stood on the beach, watching until even the afterimage faded. Taejun put his arm around her shoulders. Are you okay? No, she said honestly. My heart is breaking. Kes is all I had. And now he's gone. But yes, also, because I made the right choice. Because I'm staying with you. They heard vehicles approaching in the distance. The government agents were arriving. Taejun looked at Yuna. Are you ready to lie to the government with me? Yuna grinned. I've been preparing a story about experimental atmospheric probes and natural gas swamp phenomena. I can be very convincing when I want to be. For the next 3 hours, Taejun and Yuna dealt with government agents and military personnel. They showed fabricated data, claimed the crash site was contaminated with toxic chemicals from a weather balloon, and generally created enough bureaucratic confusion to make the investigators give up. Nira stayed hidden inside with Harin, her alien technology carefully concealed. Finally, as the sun was setting, the last of the agents left, frustrated but convinced there was no alien invasion. Just a weird combination of weather phenomena and scientific equipment failures. Taejun came back inside, exhausted. Nira was sitting on the couch with Harin asleep in her lap. She looked up at him with red eyes, still processing everything that had happened. They're gone, he said. We're safe. You're safe. Nira carefully moved Harin to the couch and stood. She walked to Taejun and kissed him deeply, pouring all her fear and hope and love into that moment. I gave up everything for this, she whispered against his lips. My career, my people, my brother. Don't make me regret it. Never, Taejun promised. We'll build a life together. A real life. A family. Outside, the stars came out one by one. Somewhere up there, Kes was traveling back to the Velhari homeworld, carrying news of Earth and its kind people. Someday, he would return. Someday, Earth would join the galactic community. But for now, in this small house by the ocean, a new family was being born. Human and alien. Brought together by kindness. Bound by love. 6 months had passed since the Velhari shuttle left Earth's atmosphere. Winter had turned to spring and then to early summer. The cherry blossoms had come and gone, replaced by the lush green of coastal vegetation. Everything had changed, yet somehow everything felt right. Nira stood at the window of Taechun's research facility, looking out at the ocean. She wore human clothes now, a simple dress and cardigan, with a scarf wrapped around her head to hide her luminescent markings when in public. Cosmetics helped disguise her purple-tinted skin, though up close, anyone paying attention would notice something unusual about her appearance. The town had noticed, of course. Small coastal communities always notice strangers. But the story they created was simple. Nira was a visiting researcher from overseas, working with Taejun on marine biology projects. She had a rare genetic condition that affected her skin pigmentation and sensitivity to sunlight. It was almost true, which made it easier to maintain. Dr. Nira, the analysis is complete, Dr. Yuna called from across the lab. Since learning the truth, Yuna had become their closest ally, helping create documentation and cover stories for Nira's presence. Nira walked over to the computer screen. Using her knowledge of Velhari science, carefully shared without revealing too much, they had made significant breakthroughs in understanding ocean acidification and coral reef regeneration. Papers were being published under both their names, attracting attention from the international scientific community. "This is remarkable," Yuna said, studying the data. "If we can replicate these results, we could save dying reefs all over the world." "Nira, your insights are revolutionary. On my homeworld, we learned long ago that preserving ecosystems is essential," Nira said. "I'm just sharing knowledge that already exists elsewhere in the galaxy. Someday, when Earth is ready for open contact, so much more can be shared." Taejun entered the lab, carrying Harin's forgotten lunchbox. His daughter had started 3rd grade and was thriving. She came to the facility after school most days, doing her homework in Taejun's office while the adults worked. "You forgot this again," Taejun said to Nira with a smile. "Harin reminded me to bring it. She says you're always forgetting to eat when you're focused on research." "She's right," Nira admitted. "I get absorbed in the work. Cass used to remind me too." A shadow crossed her face. She missed her brother every day, though they had managed one brief communication through carefully encrypted channels 3 months ago. He was doing well, training with a new scout team, excited to eventually return to Earth. Taejun put his arm around her shoulders, a gesture that had become natural between them. "He'll be back someday. And until then, you have us." That evening, the 3 of them had dinner together as they did every night. Harin excitedly told them about her art class, where she had painted a picture of the ocean with strange fish she imagined might exist on other worlds. Her teacher praised her creativity. After dinner, as Taejun washed dishes, Harin approached Nira with serious eyes. "Nira, can I ask you something?" "Of course, little one. Anything." "Are you and Dad going to get married?" Nira's breath caught. She and Taejun had grown closer every day, their bond deepening into something profound and lasting. They hadn't talked about marriage yet, both hesitant to make it official when their situation was so complicated. "Would you like that?" Nira asked carefully. "If I became your father's wife?" Harin nodded emphatically. "You already feel like my mom. Not instead of my real mom. She'll always be special. But like a new mom. Someone who loves me and takes care of me. Someone who makes Dad happy again." Tears filled Nira's eyes. "RM, I love you very much. I love your father. But marriage is complicated for us. I'm not legally human. The government doesn't know what I really am. So," Harin said with the simple logic of a child, "you can still promise to be a family. That's what matters, right? The promise?" From the kitchen, Taechun's voice called out. "Harin, stop bothering Nira with difficult questions." "It's not a difficult question," Harin called back. "It's a simple one." Taejun came into the living room, drying his hands on a towel. He looked at Nira's tear-filled eyes and Harin's determined expression. "What's going on?" "Harin asked if we're getting married," Nira said. "And she's right. It shouldn't be complicated. In Valhari culture, the promise is what matters. The public ceremony is just celebration of a bond already formed in the heart." Taejun set down the towel and knelt beside them. "Nira, I wanted to ask properly. I have a ring and everything. I was planning to wait until the sunset cruise next weekend." "You have a ring?" Nira's eyes went wide. Taejun pulled a small box from his pocket, looking embarrassed. "I've been carrying it for 2 weeks, trying to find the perfect moment. But maybe there's no such thing as a perfect moment. Maybe the moment is perfect because of who you're with." He opened the box, revealing a simple silver ring with a small blue stone. "It's aquamarine, like the ocean we both love. Nira, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, Harin's mother, and let us be your family forever?" Nira laughed and cried at the same time. "Yes, yes, of course yes." Harin squealed with joy and hugged them both. They sat together on the floor, a tangle of arms and happiness. The new family making itself official. The wedding was planned for a month later. It would be small, held on the beach at sunset. Dr. Yuna would stand as witness and maid of honor. A few of Tae-chan's colleagues would attend, those who had accepted the cover story about Nira's condition without prying too deeply. Harin would be the flower girl, a role she took very seriously. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. The beach was decorated simply with white fabric and local flowers. A small ceremony space was set up with the ocean as backdrop. Nira wore a white dress that incorporated both human and Valhari elements. Designed to accommodate her unique physiology while looking beautiful, Taejeon stood waiting in a simple suit, his eyes never leaving Nira as she walked toward him across the sand. Harin scattered flower petals, beaming with pride. Dr. Yuna smiled with tears in her eyes, witnessing something she knew was historically significant. Even if she couldn't tell anyone why the officiant was a kind elderly woman who had known Taechun's late wife. She spoke about love transcending boundaries, about new beginnings after grief, about the courage it takes to open your heart again. She didn't know how literally true her words were when it came time for vows. Nira spoke first in Korean, then in Valhari. Her words translated through a small hidden device. I came to this world lost and afraid, expecting nothing but survival. Instead, I found kindness from strangers, love from a good man, a daughter who opened her heart to someone different. I vow to honor this family with everything I am, to protect and cherish you both, to build a life here that makes my sacrifice worth it. I am Valhari, but I am also yours, forever. Tae-chan's vows were simpler but equally heartfelt. I thought my heart died with my first wife. I thought I would just go through the motions for Harin's sake. But you showed me I could live again, love again. You gave me back my future. I vow to be worthy of the choice you made, leaving everything for us. To give you a home, a family, and all my love until my last breath. They exchanged rings and Valhari bonding crystals, small gems that glowed softly when brought together, an alien tradition blending with human ones. When they kissed, the small gathering applauded. Harin cheered the loudest as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Something remarkable happened. A shooting star crossed the sky, brighter than normal. Nira gasped, recognizing what it really was. A Valhari shuttle, briefly dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Kes, keeping his promise to witness his sister's wedding from afar, she raised her hand to the sky in the Valhari gesture of greeting. Somewhere out there in space, she knew her brother was doing the same. The reception was small and joyful. They ate, danced, and celebrated. Harin gave a speech about how happy she was to have a new mother. Dr. Yuna toasted to love that crossed all boundaries. Taejun and Nira shared their first dance as husband and wife, moving slowly in the sand while the ocean waves provided rhythm. Later that night, after the guests left and Harin was asleep, Taejun and Nira walked along the beach together. The stars were brilliant overhead. Countless worlds spread across the galaxy. Do you regret it? Taejun asked quietly. Giving up the stars for this small life on one planet? Nira took his hand, squeezing tight. I didn't give up the stars. I just found something more valuable than exploring them. The Valhari Collective will continue without me. They'll find new worlds, make new discoveries. But this family, this life with you and Harin, this is mine. This is what I choose. What about when Earth is ready for contact? When your people return officially? Then I'll be here, a bridge between two worlds. My daughter will grow up belonging to both cultures. Maybe our children will too, if that's possible. She looked at him with hope and nervousness. Would you want that? Children together? Taejun pulled her close. I would want everything with you. All of it. The whole beautiful, complicated future. They stood together on the beach, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kes was traveling back toward the Valhari homeworld, carrying news of Earth and its people. Someday, maybe soon or maybe in years,